Welcome, my friends, to the very first Torah Tuesday. This is going to be a show where we take 5 minutes out of your week to give you some interesting and exciting insight into some little aspect in the Torah that hopefully can help get you through that midweek hump, that Tuesday, Wednesday hump, as we march towards the Shabbat, towards the day where we get to rest in the Lord and enjoy His goodness. For this very first week, the thing that I wanted to touch on was the 10 Commandments. And actually, I believe we're actually going to probably go and spend multiple weeks looking at various commandments in the 10 Commandments because these are so vital and so important and really help us to better understand what the Torah is. You know, a lot of times we hear the word Torah, which is the Hebrew word for law, and we think of law in negative connotations. Maybe it's because we had a run-in with the law, or perhaps it's because we were raised in a church system where we've been taught that there is this dichotomy between law and grace, that you can't have law if there's grace, and if there's law, there is no grace. But that simply is not the case. You see, when we turn to that opening 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, we first start off with the story of creation, and then we move into Israel being in slavery, which is, of course, a shadow picture and a bigger understanding of us being in slavery to sin. And you see, that whole Exodus pattern actually turns out to be the exact same pattern that Yeshua is freeing us from, that slavery, not to Egypt this time, but slavery to sin itself, slavery and bondage to the thing that causes death. And so there's a lot of parallels being spoken of in these opening chapters that apply to the Gospels, to the New Testament, and also to our lives today, because we are still in that process of being freed from bondage to sin. So, let's ask that question, law versus grace. All right. Now, if we open up our Bibles to the 10 Commandments, this is the first thing that really Israel does after being freed from Egypt is they go to Mount Sinai and they receive the 10 Commandments. And as Yeshua points out, you know, all these commandments hang on love God, love your neighbor. And those 2 commandments are kind of showing what the 10 Commandments are about, and all the laws after that are kind of basically showing us various aspects of how to keep those 10 Commandments. So, again, let's ask that question, law versus grace. Exodus chapter 20, it's also found in Deuteronomy chapter 5, but Exodus chapter 20, the 10 Commandments starts off with, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of bondage, out of the house of slavery. He doesn't start off by making a demand. He starts by reminding them that he brought them out of Egypt, and Egypt was the house of slavery. Interesting. You see, God isn't saying, here's my law, and if you keep my law, here's some grace to go along with it. No, God starts off by saying, I gave you grace, I gave you mercy, I freed you from that bondage. And law, the obedience factor in the Bible, is something that flows forth from our hearts, from the gratitude towards God for what He has done for us. There's no concept in the Torah there of, if you keep my commandments, then I will set you free, then I will save you. No, it's you've been saved from Egypt. You've been saved from slavery. And remember in Romans 5 and 6 how Paul relates sin and death to that slavery, to bondage. And Yeshua is the one who frees us from that slavery. And now that you've been set free, you've been enabled to keep that obedience. Obedience is not the thing that sets you free. It's the thing that ensures your freedom. And that's one of the things I really want to propose to you that the Ten Commandments is doing, is not setting a bunch of arbitrary laws. It's laying down the framework of what keeps you a free person. Amen? Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this teaching, please do us a favor and go ahead and subscribe to this channel so that you can get future updates on new teachings that are available. And don't forget to check out the website, faithofmessiah.com, where you can find a lot of great teachings, as well as how to support this ministry. And if you'd like to invite Ryan White to speak, you can find out more information there. Shalom.